Okay, so just starting off with a little bit of a disclaimer. This is my third time uploading this video, and the reason for that is it seems to be haunted by some kind of space witch that went through the Kira, through the Gelgoog into my audio somehow. Basically, whatever happened when the video got exported or somewhere along the actual making of the video and the recording, it ended up in this kind of weird way where it was going through the wrong audio channels. Through my setup, it sounded fine. I'm not sure if it's because I have surround headphones or what, but it just wouldn't play right through anything that was playing mono. So the audio got borked, screwed, fucked, banjaxed, whatever word you want to use. So it should be fine now, hopefully. Anyway, without any further ado, the high-grade Gelgoog. Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the high-grade SUGAI'S GELGOOG GQ, aka Gundam G Quax's answer to the gym. As usual, this video right here wouldn't have been possible without those absolutely fantastic people over at Hoppylink Japan, link in the description. And if you do want to see the full build for this kit, I have done that in a separate video because this is an incredibly unique build. It's like the Gundam Quax itself, just debatably that little bit better. It is one impressive kit. Now, I will also mention that I have done a little bit extra since that particular review because this kit right here is not 100% color accurate out of box. So I suppose we'll start talking a little bit about that. So when it does come to the overall aesthetics, this right here is what you get out of box. It is an absolutely phenomenal looking kit, and if you didn't notice the tiny little color indiscrepancies that are actually present, it looks so phenomenal. The color separation is great, the build up is absolutely fantastic, and I'm so impressed by the kit overall, but mainly by the legs, the propellant tanks, the verniers. The ridiculous, lightweight, yet armored towards the front design just looks phenomenal. But there are a few spots here and there, like the little circular aspects on the back of the legs are meant to be in grey, we're meant to have some yellow on the hips, and there is a lot of colour missing from the backpack thrusters. A lot of those are meant to be in grey, but the whole thing, armour-wise, is predominantly, well, all in red. However, when I was done with the kit, it looked more like this right here, which makes me a lot more happy. As for how I actually got to this point though, all I did was I panel lined it the usual kind of way. That is with the extra thin type panel liners that just flow into the lines for you. Simple job, couple of minutes, done in no time. After that then I did paint up some of the little kind of details here and there. For this I only used two Gundam markers. That is the dark grey Gundam marker, and when it did come to the yellow sections I just used the regular yellow Gundam marker. It doesn't 100% match, it's not the same kind of pale yellow that's on this kit, but it does the job alright. Now I will mention, just in case you are planning to rush out to buy some Gundam markers, they're not the easiest thing to use. They're a little bit funky, they can be used right onto, well, directly onto plastic, but the actual applicator pen itself is a little bit hard to wield. It's very thick, blobs out a lot of paint a lot of the time, so I do recommend actually blobbing some of that paint out of the actual marker and using a brush. Now I did that for some aspects, but not all. I just blob it into the areas that I want painted and then just kind of scrape and sand off the excess. It's a little bit faster and that's what I prefer. And just then to finish it off, I decided I did need a couple of decals to break up the color on here. Now the pilot of this particular Gelgoog right here, Sugai, is referred to as a witch, so I decided to actually go into my decal collection and grab some witch from Mercury kits, just as a funny little nod to that. I did use some of these as well as some random other assortments of red and white decals that I had lying around the place. I just slapped them on using Micro Sol and Micro Set. And I finished it all off with a spray of Mr. Hobby Flat Top Coat. Now I used 3 almost empty cans to do this, so I thought I'd end up with a really funny finish, but it didn't turn out too bad in the end. And in the end, this right here is what we have now. This is such an impressive and fun and solid kit. It is one of the best high grades I have ever built. It is that awesome. Also, I will mention when it comes to gym-style suits, this is the most unique and probably the best build when it comes to high grades. When it comes to Gelgoogs, though, I don't know about that. It's definitely Gelgoog in name alone. But anyway, jumping right on into that full 360 spin and the overview, this is a very nice looking kit. Everything you can see on here is color separated besides the 3 things that I painted, which is the bits on the backpack, some yellow on the hips, and some grey on the very backs of the legs near the fuel tanks. Otherwise, this kit is 100% perfect. It looks incredible and it takes to panel lining fantastically. There's a lot of design elements on this kit which are very atypical for gunpla, which makes it a lot of fun even if you have built a lot of different high grade Gundam kits. Overall, the design approach to this is very functional. It gives it a real robot kind of look. The propellant tanks you can actually see through the legs, and the upper and lower legs, which are actually attached to the verniers, is an incredibly nice touch. The way the actual joints are designed almost like cylinders is like nothing I've ever seen before, and a lot of the elements really do kind of look like something you would see on a mass-produced unit, and like what you'd actually see in actual robots in reality. I'm talking about the ankles, the feet, and the elbows. Very simple joints that do what they need to do and no more, and the payoff is very good. Even when it comes to the actual surface detailing on this, it's very unique. The kind of tiny little, what I can only say are like holes in the knees and the upper legs, which I assume are some kind of little thrusters that have something to do with the AMBAC system. The little sections up in the clavicle, which I assume are for balance when it's just flying around in space. But overall, everything is so nicely designed. I'll also mention I did paint a little bit in the kind of armpit areas, because apparently that also is meant to be in a grey as well. It is just red out of box. Overall, absolutely fantastic design. Great design elements everywhere, and an absolute feast for the eyes when it does come to a high-grade Gundam. The only thing that's a little bit funny to me, I feel, is they went for just a standard colored plastic in the head cameras and the eye sensor section. So that does mean it is just in a kind of turquoisey kind of color, when you would think it would be something clear or maybe in a metallic, but no, they just went for that flat yet beautiful color of plastic. So yeah, once again worth mentioning, this kit right here has no color correcting stickers inside of the box at all, and the color separation is off the charts. As for what I did actually paint again, these little circular sections back here, these are actually just in white out of box. They're meant to be in grey. Same goes with the grey up here on the backpack. That was just in red like the rest of the backpack armor. And these little circular sections on the hips, these were just in white as well. Again, something you wouldn't really notice too much, but if you wanted to look exactly like it did in the anime, those are things that you will want to paint. Now this is going to come up later. These are really badly designed, but that's for later. However, when it does come to stickers, we've got this one little sheet that does have one decal, and this is quite the decal. It has a silhouette of a little witch on it, and what it actually says there, might be hard to read, is, "And death shall have no dominion," which is pretty badass. Now this is the title of a poem by Dylan Thomas, which actually goes to show that even though the anime in general is kind of goofy on the surface, a lot of the actual references in it are very literary, especially when it does come to references to literature that reference biblical things. For example, with the Gundam G Quacks, the leaked version of it being the Gundam Lies Heavy, which refers to a book in The Man in the High Castle, which is also biblical in nature. So even though the anime can be super goofy at times and a little bit daft, there are some definitely nice, heavy, buried themes. As for the rest of the decals that I have on here, a lot of them I just took from various other kits. The caution up there is from Gundam Aerial, so just kind of sticking with the overall witch theme, but I will mention we've also got some real grade New Gundam, and I think some real grade Destiny Impulse decals on here as well. Again, these don't come included, of course. But yeah, there are some insanely nice design elements on this particular high grade right here. These little panel line aspects are very atypical, especially the larger ones, which I assume are part of the AMBAC system. Maybe they're just nice design. These are all over the place. The way the side skirts have been designed as well is very nice, incorporating some gym aesthetics while completely messing with the overall design in the best possible way. And speaking of the nicest aspects, the fuel tanks around back just blow my mind. The way these actually are built, again, I'll flash back to the build video. Even the stripe is color separated on these. It's just broken down so perfectly. This is nothing like a high grade that has ever existed before. Damn awesome. We do have some small details as well, like the Vulcans on the side of the head up there. Very nicely molded in, but you will have to bring them out with a little bit of panel lining. And overall, an absolutely incredible high grade. At first it might look a bit small, it might look a little bit plain, but this is the furthest thing from it. This is peak high grade gunpla. So jumping on into the size comparison, and there it is beside the last two releases from the same line, which I have to admit is one of the funnest lines yet when it comes to high grade kits. We've got the Gundam Quacks on the left, we've got the Police Saku on the right, popping in the standard sized Oryx 78-2 high grade, so you can see that the Gelgoog GQ is a little bit on the small side. There it is beside a slightly bigger Gundam, which is the high-grade Aerial, and some recent releases including the high-grade Gundam EX, high-grade SUGAI'S GELGOOG, and the non-grade Gundam Glass Feather. So now jumping into the accessories, and here's everything that comes with the high-grade SUGAI'S GELGOOG. What we get in here is the two short beam rifles, as well as a bit for attaching them on, a double-ended beam saber, as well as 2 alternate hands, one of which is a wide spread, the other one with a wire and anchor section attached to it. So first up, when it comes to the hands in here, we've got the fists that have been on the whole time already. Definitely nicely designed around front, fairly simple at the back with the way they just attach onto the white back like that. So there are no options for the right hand, it's always this one right here, but when it does come to the left hand, we've got a widespread hand again, featuring a very, very nice sculpt. The detail on it is very nice. And we do have the other hand, which has the wire anchor section attached onto it, which is this right here, for SUGAI'S special technique. Again, the sculpt on this, very, very nice. When it comes to swapping the hands, it's very simple. It's the usual ball joints. You just pop out one and attach on the other one, just like so. Widespread hand looking really great, especially with the thicker knuckles closer to the hand. And when it comes to the cool one with the wire, again, it attaches on in the exact same way, and plenty of strength in that hand and the wire, well, to support the wire. When it comes to the actual cool wire hand anchor thingamajiggy, this is extremely, extremely nice. You just attach it in normally, get this into a little bit of a pose. I'll just mention that the regular stand 3mm hole attachment is what happens here. There's nothing special about it. Slap it on a stand, get it into a little bit of a pose like this right here, and that is what it looks like. The wire holds on perfect, looks great, and definitely a really nice accessory for what is honestly a pretty cool piece of equipment. Next up in here we have the beam saber, and this is a double-ended one, almost seed style. Now these beams in here are new, even though they do kind of look like the old school chubby beams. So when it comes to attaching the beam saber, it's the usual kind of way. You just pop off the back of the hand and pop it into the hand like so. You do have the option here to use it with 2 beams like this right here, just make sure it's not backwards like I have it. Or you do have the option of popping out the back blade just like so and having it as a standard beam saber. Now this poses up decently with this. It looks very, very nice. The pink is a unique shade. However, due to the kind of limited articulation at the wrist, it does mean you get somewhat flaccid slashing poses out of it, which is a little bit of a letdown. So next up in here we've got not 1 but 2 beam rifles, and that is actually what they're referred to as, beam rifles, even though they are kind of like your standard-ish beam spray gun you'd see with a gym. Overall, these are very, very nice. They are split down the middle a little bit, but they've adapted that into the design nicely, and overall simple and effective, and it's always nice when you get 2. So once again, popping these into the hands the exact same way. Just split off the back of the hand just like so and throw the beam rifle into the hand and pop it on like this. It's the same for both beam rifles, and the fact that you do get 2 is pretty cool. This does look really cool wielding these akimbo, and there it is once again in a little bit of a pose. This is very, very nice, and it's bound to get a little bit nicer when we talk about the storage about these in the beam saber. So the last thing we have in here is this super handy little rack, which is for storage of all of the accessories at once. You just whip the handle off the beam saber, and that then just slides on into this hole. Simple. The storage of the actual beam rifles is very, very smart. You've got a big, thick little section right here that you actually just slide the beam rifle onto, which attaches on just like so, which means we still do have a little peg right here, which attaches into the upper section of the other beam rifle, so they're nice and layered like that. How neat and cool is that? Then this whole rig just attaches on to the butt flap just like so. So that is some amazing storage of parts. Neat, out of the way, and it looks great too. Alright, so now jumping on into the articulation, and first off talking about the build strength on this. This is a rock solid kit. The only thing that's kind of annoying is the attachment of the backpack thrusters is really not great. Just move them around a little bit and they're gonna pop off. They're just simple, strange little ball joints that could have been designed a little bit better. Anyway, as for the overall articulation, let's test it out with the pose. So when it comes to getting this into the usual pose, this is a kit that definitely has atypical articulation and doesn't feel the usual kind of way high grades or Bandai's kits usually do. That does mean getting into certain positions does feel a little bit on the awkward side, and we do have some very awkwardly designed joints, especially in the hips more than anything else, because of the way it's just a almost like figure joint. One of those split bowl figure joints shoved through a hole. It doesn't really have as much articulation as you would like it to have, but overall every joint does have a decent range of motion, but in the end what you get is kind of less than the sum of its overall parts, which means it is a little awkward to pose. It can pull off a couple of poses extremely well, but sometimes when you're trying to get a nice pose out of it, especially once again in the hips, it can be a little bit underwhelming, awkward, and those backpack pieces constantly fall off. At the neck, we've got a hinge that attaches into the absolute back of the head, which gives us some great up and down articulation mixed with the ball joint in the lower neck. We also have some great side to side as well. Inside the torso, we do have a nice joint made out of 2 parts, which is kind of like a master grade, which allows it to move forward and back inside the actual torso. On top of that, we've got a full open design to the shoulder armor section, so it means the arm can move all the way out to the outside just like so, and we do have that nice pivot inside the body as well, which allows the arm to move up and down even further. We've got full rotation at the shoulder. The shoulder is actually attached directly into the arm, so all we have here is full rotation at the upper bicep, a simple 1-point elbow, just like we would have seen on the G-Quax itself, which just moves like so. The shield on the back of the arm is on a peg, so it means you can rotate this around to get it into the angle that you want, and a standard simple ball joint at the wrist, which is a little bit on the limited side. The ab crunch on this kit is at least 2 points, so it gives you so much movement. This is one of the nicest features of the kit. It goes all the way to the front really nice and super to the back. This also adds to the side to side ab crunch too, and we've got full rotation at the waist joint. We've got some unique side skirts in here. These are ball joint attached into the rear of the waist unit, which means they move all the way up and down just like so, as well as in and out like this. One of the weirdest aspects about this design is the hip joints. These are just these kind of almost like action figure joints, but they're deep down inside the actual leg, so you don't get much movement. There's a little bit of a cutaway at the absolute top of this joint, so you can get extended movement, but only in one direction. When actually attaching to the hip, you get a great kick up to the front, blocked at the back due to that unique skirting armor. When it does come to the splits, you get a little bit of a splits, and like I mentioned, because of the cutaway, you do get a little bit more. No rotation at the upper leg here. We have great thrusters at the back here. This is one of the nicest features on this kit, which move up and down out of the way the knee bend, and it actually moves the propellant tank inside the leg too. Fancy. When it comes to the actual knee bend, it's very, very nice. As long as you've got those thrusters up, you'll get a great bend out of these. Down at the ankle, then, it is just a simple peg joint, so it just moves forward and back like this, and will move itself off the joint eventually, well, after a couple of movements, so it is a little bit funny. The side to side is quite limited, and we do have a nice full toe bend too. When it comes to probably the worst aspect about this kit, that is the thrusters round back. We've got 2 points of articulation on these. That is a standard hinge inside the actual thrusters themselves, and then this cup and ball joint that just sucks arse. They pop off all of the time, all of the time, all of the time. Once again, there is that test pose. Like I mentioned, the hips are a little bit funny. We've got some funny joints here and there, but this is a grunt suit, so you can use the old, it wouldn't be able to move that crazy over the top anyway. Well, maybe, because it kinda did. But I'm sure you'll get all the poses that you do want out of it. It just could be a little bit better. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade SUGAI'S GELGOOG GQ. Now this right here is a gold tier kit, but it's definitely a high gold tier kit. When it comes to the breakdown of what this got, aesthetically, platinum tier through and through. This got the 4 out of 5. It's almost perfect. It only lost some points because some parts did need to be painted out of box, and it was lacking the color separation. But if you do ignore those aspects, the color separation is off the charts. We've got some layering of parts that we've never seen before in the legs, and overall this is a nice new take on the gym, even if it's called a Gelgoog. Articulation wise, sadly it was let down a little bit, so it's gold tier in that regard. Where its articulation is good, it is fantastic. The arms and the body are amazing. Guess Bandai did lose it a little bit in the legs in order to make them as cool looking as they are. It's the hip joints and the feet that do let this down a little bit. If it was just that little bit better, this would be one of the most unique posers around. It is unique, just a little bit limited. Accessories wise, this got the gold tier as well, so a good set of accessories and everything does what it needs to do. We've got multiple hands for the left hand side. We've got that nice wire, 2 beam rifles, a beam saber, and a great way of attaching them all onto the butt flap. Nothing does anything spectacular, and nothing will let you down. Now when it comes to the build on this Gelgoog, I had to give it the full Gundarium tier 5 out of 5. This is such a fun build. This is the freshest high grade kit build I've built in quite some time, and that is saying a lot after building such kits as the D Gundam First, the G-Quax, and the Police Zaku. The legs on this are so much fun to build. The design is fantastic. The color separation is amazing, even if it is missing a little bit, and it just is awesome. The torso too is just so much fun to build. Treat yourself. Build this kit. It is that nice. Anyway, once again, this kit right here, gold tier. I got mine through Hobby Link Japan. Link is down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gundam reviews, and I'll see you next time. As always, all these videos on here would not be possible without each and every one of you guys watching these videos, so thank you so much. And special thanks to those of you who are helping out over on the Patreon, as well as on the channel members, including Abraxas, Caleb Engelhart, Joe or G, 59061, Scotty Thomas, Simon, and Van Fawn.